Get ready to be inspired by the people, stories, and opportunities in Africa. We're a global community of Africans and friends of Africa with no boundaries. Together, we celebrate the continent's successes and help provide solutions to some of its greatest challenges. Impact Africa airs live every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. GMT at listenvisionlive.com. You can also catch previous episodes on iTunes and on the show's website, impactafricaonline.com. Connect with Impact Africa on Twitter and Facebook at @UImpactAfrica. Together, we'll discover that the real Africa is full of amazing talents and great opportunities. Welcome to Impact Africa. Africa has long been associated with needing aid and handouts. Today, you'll learn so much more about this wonderful continent from enlightening stories, people, and ideas. Now, here is your host, Tope Fajingbesi.
Good morning, America. Good afternoon, Africa. Especially Nigeria. Good afternoon. And congratulations on yet another successful round of elections yesterday. And the reports I'm getting say that the elections were pretty successful and peaceful in many states. We're very glad. We're very happy to be setting this trail for other African nations to follow. And I'm hoping that the state governors will understand that all politics is local. And if they want to be back next 4 years, they better work hard. So congratulations, especially to my home states of Lagos and Ogun State. I'm very glad my candidates won, so that's good news. But we begin the show today with IJ Reads News, and there's a lot of interesting updates, some sad and some not too good. The first thing we want to start with is the Chibok girls. It's going to be 1 year on April 14 that these girls have been missing. And still no updates, still no news. We can't even, hear that one of them has been found. This is really sad. The Nigerian president currently has less than 2 months till the end of his tenure. So I'm hoping that he can use this couple of weeks to really change the kind of legacy that he will be leaving for the Nigerian people. If he can at least manage to get us some information or to show successful efforts in the next two months, I think Nigerians will remember him as somebody who did something great. So I'm hoping that President Goodluck Jonathan can do something about the Chibok girls. And also, I think I have some pictures, and I would ask for this to be put on the screen on this Chibok girl story, because there are some events that are going on in DC this week. On April 14, the Voice of America is going to be having a panel discussion on the kidnappings of Boko Haram, the kidnappings of the Chibok girls by Boko Haram in northern Nigeria, and the challenges, ahead for rescuing these girls. And this is not just to talk about this issue of these Chibok girls, because we're talking about over 200 girls that were kidnapped. It's also an opportunity for Nigerians and friends of Nigerian diaspora to talk about what they want from this new government. Not just the federal government, but also the state government. So if you're in the DC area, it's at 10 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday, April 14. And the address is 330 Independence Avenue Southwest in DC. And I hope to see all of you there. I will be there. Still on northern Nigeria, this is very, very pleasant news. And this is a region, thinking about Chibok girls and everything else, this is a region that is known for lack of education, no progress, but they are doing something that the rest of the regions that lay claim to progress in Nigeria haven't been able to do. Reports reaching us say that for the first time in the history of Nigeria, a woman is going to be a democratically elected governor of a Nigerian state. And I think I have the picture of the woman, so I want people to see what she looks like. But this is Senator Aisha Jumai Al-Hassan, and she is going to be, well, I hope INEC declares it today, but from everything we've heard yesterday, she has got the popular vote, and she's going to be the first ever woman to lead a state in Nigeria. Congratulations to the northern Nigerian women, most especially, because people will always say, really horrible things about northern Nigeria when it comes to women and when it comes to education. But they have such a rich history. They have produced amazing women, and I'm happy that Aisha Jumai Al Hassan is bringing that history back. That is just fantastic. We move on now to Kenya, and this is not good news. And the country is still recovering from the brutal murder of 150 students in Garissa 10 days ago. And we just heard that another student has died and over 100 were injured after an electricity transformer exploded and it caused a stampede at the University of Nairobi's Kikuyu campus. This is really sad. This is, just really upsetting news. And I'm hoping, I'm praying that the people of Kenya will be okay. It's very hypocritical that we haven't, heard so much about Kenya in mainstream news this past 10 days. It looked like everybody has just moved on and so many other news items are trending. We haven't seen the world leaders who marched in Paris. We haven't seen them, come back to Kenya to show solidarity. But we African people are the ones who can solve Africa's problems. So I'm hoping that people can, reach out to Kenya and, show some efforts and show some support for this country as they try to get back on their feet. So we move now to good news from Ghana. And this country isn't playing around at all. Ghana is leading the charge on so many fronts, and I'm super proud of this, country that has such amazing ties to Nigeria, let me say. We're just not, West African neighbors. They're the next English-speaking country to Nigeria on the West African border. But we also share a lot of history, heritage, and arts and culture. And indeed, all of Africa should be proud of what Ghana is doing right now. And the country wants to progress in terms of education and energy. They're taking a lead in this area. One of the things Ghana is doing right now is that they're spending more in terms of percentage on their GDP on education than any other countries that you can think about. They're spending, they're spending 8% of their GDP on education, and that is more than a 6% benchmark by the UN, and also more than 6.5% in the UK. So, when it comes to the future of education, Ghana is actually laying a very solid foundation here, and we're very proud of them. Also, still on Ghana, they have 90% of Ghanaian children in school. This is really a great improvement when you compare to Nigeria. Nigeria has only 64% of their children in school, and Pakistan, another country outside of Africa, has only 72% of their children in school. So 90%, way to go, Ghana. We're very proud, and the rest of Africa needs to follow suit. Still on Ghana, they're just not leading on education. They're also leading in terms of energy, like I said earlier on. The largest solar power plant in Africa will be built in Ghana, and this is going to increase the renewable energy component of the country from 1% right now to 10% by 2020. And this power plant is going to be the fourth biggest of its kind in the world. Absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of Ghana. And, I'm really, really glad that this country of, very small size is taking charge of its own energy and education destiny. Way to go, Ghana. Well, back to Nigeria. You know how there has to be news about Nigeria. Another Nigerian is making waves, and this is Roy Deomi Okupe. He's a software programmer by day and a web developer also, but he writes graphic novels by night. He just completed a story about a Nigerian superhero. It's called EXO, The Legend of Wale Williams. Honestly, even the graphics from this this novel makes me want to read it. This is absolutely fantastic. I'm telling you, the Legend of Wale Williams. I'm trying everything I can to get this guy on the show because I heard he lives in Bethesda, Maryland, and this is absolutely fantastic. I want to see the graphics back again. Yes, this is the guy, and the story is set in futuristic Lagoon City and is inspired by the populous Nigerian city of Lagos. It's absolutely awesome stuff, and we're really proud of what Roy Okupe is able to do with this. So back to Nigerians, and again, the rest of Africa, actually, because there are only 2 Nigerians on this next story, but a lot of African kids are making waves in terms of getting admitted to the entire 8 Ivy League schools in America. This is absolutely fantastic. One of the pictures that was just showed now is for one of the kids that was just admitted to Ivy League. We have a Somali-American high school student, Munira Khalif. We have Harold Eke, also from Nigeria. and we have Victor Agbafe from Nigeria. And I think I have the pictures of those 3 kids. I want people to see what they look like. And once again, that is Somalian Munira Khalif, Harold Ake from Nigeria, and Victor Agbafe from Nigeria as well. Congratulations. And you people are showing, our host in America that we're not here to just take free stuff, that we're here to contribute to this economy, and we're here to make our continent proud. Congratulations. And I want to wrap up IJ Reads News with the story of Fatou Kekula. If you remember Fatou Kekula, that was the Liberian woman who nursed her Ebola-stricken family back to health, and she was protecting herself with only trash bags. And, she, I think, nursed about 8 people back to health in Liberia. Fatou Kekula, whose picture is up on the screen right now, is now a nursing student at, guess where? Just guess where? Where did I go to school? Emory University in Atlanta, of course. We're very happy. I'm glad that Emory is, welcoming this wonderful, wonderful daughter of Africa. And I'm sure she's going to do more. So watch out for Fatou Kekula. Absolutely fantastic. For more news about Africa and indeed the rest of the world, please go to IJ Reads the News on Facebook. If you're on IJ's page, I promise you, you'll be in touch with the rest of the world. You don't even need any cable channel. Just go to IJ Reads the News on Facebook. So now, before I bring on my guests, I want to talk about Destination Africa. And like I promised you last week, Destination Africa is back. And this week, we're going to be talking about a country that I want to visit. I've never been. It's also in West Africa, and it's just absolutely fantastic. If you like this country and you like what you hear today, please go to asweetstay.com and book a ticket to go to, guess where? Senegal. Senegal, absolutely beautiful country. I've just been looking at the pictures from Senegal since yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? Next time I go to West Africa, I better take a tour, and get to Senegal. And so what is Senegal doing right now to attract visitors? Because the country, like many other African countries, suffered a lot when the Ebola outbreak happened in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. Just by being in that area, a lot of tourists really didn't come back. So right now, the government has scrapped visa requirements for foreign visitors, and they will be slashing taxes on airfares as they seek to revive the country's tourism sector, and hopefully we can get back from the disaster caused by Ebola. But what is good about Senegal? It has lots of history, absolutely beautiful history, has loads of beautiful beaches and great food. And last but by no means the least, the best thing I like about Senegal, it's the people. Senegalese people are one of the nicest, they're some of the nicest people ever. Very nice people, very warm, very hospitable, absolutely phenomenal people. So what should you do when you get there? They're on spoiled beaches, as you're seeing on the screen. And, USA Today actually gave me that term, that Senegal is known for unspoiled beaches. You have to go and explore that. And there's also La Maison des Enclaves, that's House of Slaves. It's the this house is centuries old, and it's served as a processing center for African slaves. You want to know history. And this is the picture on the screen right now is exactly what I'm talking about, the House of Slaves. You want to know about African history. You want to know about African American history. I think one of the places to go to is Senegal. And you have to go to this house and see, what really happened at those times and see how we can use that information as strength to, contribute to the world today. Also, you have to go to the Pink Lake. Yes, that's the picture on the screen right now. I have heard amazing things. I still don't believe this thing exists. I know people who have been there. I have a friend who has seen this, but I have to see this with my own eyes. The Pink Lake, really? A lake is pink? You have to go and see it yourself. So please pack your bags. Let's go to Senegal and see some of these people, the food and, amazing things. And let us contribute really to developing Africa by visiting Africa. So that is it for me on Destination Africa. We'll take a very brief break right now. When we come back, I will be joined by my guest who has been to Senegal and who is doing something to encourage investment, not just in Senegal, but entirely, the whole African continent. Don't go away.
See the faces of the children. See how much they long to smile. Some have forgotten how to be happy. Others lost their childhood away to sun. But you and I can make a difference. You and I can make the change. Heal your world, take away this pain. Heal your world, one child, one heart at a time. Take the pain away. Ooh. Reach out your hand, show that you can. Let's take the world a better place. One child at a time. Reach out your hand, show that you can. Let's take the world a better place. One child at a time. Reach out your hand, show.
You are listening to Impact Africa. To connect with the program, please call 1-443-499-2755. That's 1-443-499-2755. You may also send an email to info@impactafricaonline.com or tweet @UImpactAfrica. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to Impact Africa. And, I talked about Senegal and that being the destination to visit. And my guest today is an African. Well, yeah, you probably think you're thinking, no, she's not African. She's an African. She's American, but she's actually from Senegal. And I'll let you, meet her person. My guest is Danielle Ciribassi. She's the president and CEO of the U.S. Africa Chamber of Commerce. And that is the only Africa Chamber of Commerce that is based in D.C., correct?
It's the only Africa Chamber of Commerce that focuses on small and medium enterprises.
Fantastic.
SMEs.
In the D.C. area. But, yeah. Danielle, how are you from Senegal again?
So I lived there actually in 2009. I spent 6 months there, and then I've been back and forth since then because I stayed with a family and I made a lot of friends, so I like to go back and visit.
So when you were going to Senegal for the first time, I'm sure you were like, oh my goodness, Africa, this continent, what am I going to expect? I'm sure family was like, are you sure you really want to go to that dark continent? So how was it like, and how did your impression of Africa, Senegal, and indeed all of Africa change?
Yeah. So when I first went there, it was actually for a work internship, and I was staying with family. So the attitude of a lot of my family and friends was, oh, so you're going to go help Africa. You're going to go and teach people how to live and how to improve their lives. And actually, when I went there and I stayed with the family and I saw how daily life is and I got to know people, that's how I found out that no one can go help Africa. Africa has to help itself,
yes.
So that's one major thing that I learned. And like you said, the people are everything. So it's all about opportunity, in my opinion.
And you've been going back since then, and then now you decide to form the U.S. Africa Chamber of Commerce. Why do at what point did this happen and why?
So a couple of things. So before I went to Senegal, I actually have worked with the African Diaspora since 2005. So when I was back in undergrad, I actually started a Francophone Community Partnership, which is a mentorship program for African diaspora living in Central Illinois and French-speaking American students. So we formed a partnership. We're helping people integrate and learn how to get jobs and how to be more self-sufficient in America, because it's very different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So after that, so I went actually and went to see their way of life. I went to live there. I went to the opposite side, and then came back and then worked for. I did trade promotion and market research for Nigerian products in America.
Nice.
And then I also worked for immigrant advocacy program. So I was teaching English and I was doing some political advocacy on behalf of African immigrants for hair braiders and other handicraft makers for small businesses. So I'm African diaspora, not just Senegal. All of you guys are, really close to my heart and have been for a long time.
You know what? So. You can feel free to have not just a Senegalese passport now, but a Nigerian passport too. I'm very glad. There was so much noise about the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit last year.
Exactly.
You know, everybody, the whole build up to it was great, and it looks like afterwards, nothing is happening.
Exactly. There was a lot of interest generated last summer when the African leaders came. There was the YALI program, so the Young African Leaders were here in DC, and it was nationwide. Everyone was interested, you know. But like you said, nothing happened after. So what we actually are trying to do, and we formed last summer after the summit, was to find a concrete way of bringing people together, and mostly the small and medium enterprises, because the big guys don't need any help. You know,
they're already there.
They're already there.
And perhaps not doing a good thing.
Exactly. So you have so many people, especially diaspora people, who are here and have been in the States for a long time. And they have capital, they have interest, they want to give back. But they don't know where to go. They don't know how to get funding. They don't know how to get investors. They don't know how to meet other people. So we're kind of the entity that brings everybody together in the right circumstances. So we do a lot for our members. There are also services for non-members as well. But as a member, you get a lot more. And we just, you know, bringing people together, like I said, helping people help themselves.
Fantastic. And, you know, I like that, helping people help themselves, because one of the things that is so confusing that you hear from people in the diaspora, I really want to go home and do something.
Exactly.
I want to start a business. I just don't want to, you know, Africans remit so much money back to the continent, but we have to separate, you know, just giving money to family to eat and go to school from actually creating small and medium businesses that are actually sustainable. And I'm happy that you're here to help bridge that gap. You're very new, right?
Yes.
You all started, you know, a couple months ago, but you've had an event. And, you know, what was that and how?
How did it go? Yeah, so our first event was actually 2 Tuesdays ago, the 31st. And it's going to start a monthly series. And actually, the next one's actually going to be in May, and it's going to be on AGOA. But the last event was great because it was sort of a kickoff launch event. And we ended up having a good, like, more than 50 people. It's between 50 and 60 people that came. And opening remarks were made by Rodney Slater. He was the former head of the Department of Transportation under the Clinton administration. And he was really excited, too, because he has a lot of Africa experience. And he was like, finally, something for small and medium businesses.
Exactly, yeah.
So it went great. People were so interested in seeing what else we have going on. So really happy about it.
And so tell me a little bit about that membership, because people are hearing this, they're probably thinking, you know, okay, this is great. I want to join this, and, you know, I don't have a business yet, or I have a business and I want to, you know, get some support. You know, what are some of the benefits of being a member, and how expensive is membership? Because, you know, we're talking small businesses.
That's what people, yeah, exactly. And that's a big thing, you know, being in DC, you have a lot of, you have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and you have the Continental Africa, CCA. And these are very expensive. These are for the big guys. So we're trying to keep it very affordable for everyone.
Yes.
That being said, we have a lot of ways people can get involved. And like I said, some are open to everyone, and some are open to members only. So some of the ones that are open to everyone are the networking events, and we try to explore specific topics. So we have guest speakers, and we have, you know, it's not just open general networking, but we try to focus on something. One of our events is going to be on Ebola, as you were saying before, and how that's affected investment. And how the business opportunities have, you know, for those who persisted despite Ebola.
Yes.
And also trying to address the media response to things like that. So some of the other ones, we have an Entrepreneur Expo, either in September or October coming up.
Fantastic.
It's going to be for small businesses. It gives them an opportunity to showcase their business and invite investors to come. And they have to meet certain criteria, and the chamber is going to help them get to that point so that they can be eligible to be at the expo.
You know, I think that's actually a very good thing, because one of the things that people don't have is exposure to a bigger platform. You know, I want to grow Impact Africa. Somebody else wants to grow their cocoa exporting business, shea butter. But we're all doing things in our own little way. There isn't really essentially a trade fair.
Exactly.
For small businesses. And I like that. I like, you know, where you're going with that. That is. And
it has to be, you know, like I was saying, meeting certain, because some Africans aren't necessarily aware of what the expectations are on the American side when they go to a trade show. So there's certain expectations as far as presentation and marketing and all the crossing your T's and dotting your I's before you go.
Yes.
So trying to help people prepare for that kind of event is important. So some of the other things, so we have a newsletter. It's going to be available as well. But some of the things that are members only, so we want to have sessions, subgroups. So almost like working groups.
Good.
So that we have African women in business. These are women that have their own businesses, they're entrepreneurs, they're self-starters, but they face certain challenges that men maybe don't know about.
Absolutely, yes.
So these are opportunities to get together through the chamber and talk about those challenges and help each other. Other things are industry incubators. So these are similar, but they're for specific industries. People in infrastructure, people in water, people in solar energy, they don't face the same challenges.
Absolutely
and
not.
so for them, an opportunity to talk about that. We're going to have custom research on African markets. We have 2 organizations we're actually looking into right now. They're fabulous. One is based in my home city of Chicago, but they provide very custom research on African markets. So it's going to help not only the diaspora side, but the American side.
Fantastic.
And helping people, because there's a lot of preconceived notions and misconceptions.
Tell me about that.
And so, what is the best way to overcome that is information. So offering that, the customized research. Eventually, probably next year, we're going to start doing trade missions. So we're going to accompany people to the continent and help make sure everything is laid out and organized and set up for them.
Because that was something I was going to ask you when you finished speaking about, somebody wants to start a business. They were probably born in America of, African, heritage, but they have never been to this continent they want to go and engage.
Exactly.
And they just don't want to buy a ticket, show up, and just start going around the whole place. So I think these trade missions are going to be really wonderful. But, there's something that I'm always very skeptical of. The American system, there's so much talk. We just talk. We meet and have coffee and we just talk. But how are you going to make sure that all this talks, especially from the monthly event, translate to action?
To action, exactly. And we know how talk works. I mean, anyone, even all governments are like that. And that was the idea of the chamber. It's like instead of going through the governments and the policy makers, because that's a lot of talk, is getting people together. So the chamber itself, we're not the ones that provide the financing. We're not the ones that provide the opportunity, but what we do is create an environment that enables people, empowers people to make their own opportunities. So the thing is, as a member, you can request certain things. You can request to meet with someone. You can request an event. You can request only certain types of people be at the event. So it's not just one guy from a large company or an investor and then 50 small businesses. We try to make the people who are coming in the room make sense for that person.
Makes sense.
So what we do is we just create the environment, we create the space, and we follow up. That's a big part of it too.
Good.
Because you can always organize an event. And, I've been to so many in D.C. organized by these African governments. And it's a great initiative. And they have all the boxes checked. They have a nice venue. They have the nice food. They have a few Americans there. But the follow-up is so important because then they go home and there's nobody here that can follow up for them.
Yes,
Yeah.
follow-up. And, honestly, follow-up is what really makes the action happen.
Exactly.
Because people can get really pumped. They can get really happy. But if there's really no follow-up, then there's a problem.
Exactly.
And the idea is just going to be dead on arrival. So, you didn't answer my question about how expensive it was for people to join.
That's the important thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have different levels depending on who you are and what you're looking for. So for a student, for example, they're not going to pay the same as a large corporation.
Okay.
So if you're a student, you're going to have a lot of opportunities for networking. You're going to have volunteer opportunities. You have opportunities to contribute to the newsletter. And it's $75 a year.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
That's
compared
not bad.
to other membership organizations in DC. We try to keep it comparable to that.
Good.
So that's something for students. Then you have small business. And we have nonprofit as well because we love our nonprofits.
Good.
And it's going to be $300 a year.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good.
And small business. So a small business definition, according to the UN, is either 1 to 50 employees.
Okay.
Or up to $1 up to $3 million annually.
Okay, but
so this
but
is a big range. It's
but
a big range for a small business, and it's $500 a year.
Okay.
And then we have medium/corporate. So that's more than 50 employees, more than $3 million a year, and that's $1,000 for the year.
And do they have to pay all this upfront at first? Yes, because and the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm looking at the small business category of someone like me. I might fall in that small business, and well, I don't have a lot of money, but if you told me, okay, you know what, you can pay $500 upfront, I might think, oh, I don't have $500 because the business is not making any money yet. But if you say you can pay $125 per quarter, leading to $500, perhaps that might work with my definition. So, I'm just asking for the benefit of those who are at home.
Yeah. No, it's something we're exploring, actually, because you're not the first person to say it. And if we want to make it, available for everyone, we're exploring the option yet. I'm not going to say yes or no, but we want to make it available to people. So if that's something, I think it would be on a case-by-case basis as well. So, and then we have embassy as well. So hopefully we have a relationship with some, but not all. We're trying to take it slow. As you said, we're new. And we're being honest about that. And we're taking it, little by little. And hopefully once we get going, we're going to have a relationship with the embassies and try to facilitate some of their events and do the follow-up and kind of be a partner with them.
Especially on the trade mission side.
Exactly.
There's a lot that you can do with the embassies once you have, plans to visit their country.
Exactly.
And they know they have to, I think that's fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you starting this, and I'm hoping that people can support you. And to connect with Danielle and the rest of the team, please go to usafricachamber.org, right?
Yes. Yep.
usafricachamber.org. If you're a small business out there, or even you're an individual that is planning to start a small business, I think this is something that you should explore. And this is an opportunity that is for us to actually engage Africa in a very, very meaningful way. So thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you for having me.
It's really been a pleasure. So we'll take a brief break right now. When I come back, it's going to be again about Africans in the diaspora, because I'm going to have African Diaspora Network on the phone. Don't go away.
See the faces of the children. See how much they long to smile. Some have forgotten how to be happy. Others lost their childhood away to sun. But you and I can make a difference. You and I can make the change. Heal your world, take away this pain. Heal your world, one child, one heart at a time. Take the pain away.
Reach out your hand, show that you can, show that you can. Let's take the world a better place. One child at a time. Reach out your hand, show that you can, show that you can. Let's take the world a better place. One child at a time. Reach out your hand, show that.
You are listening to Impact Africa. To connect with the program, please call 1-443-499-2755. That's 1-443-499-2755. You may also send an email to info@impactafricaonline.com or tweet @UImpactAfrica. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to Impact Africa, and I really am very excited about the Africans in diaspora and the opportunities that we're having to really impact our continent, and the opportunities that we're having to really create jobs and businesses in the continent. And one of my guests on the phone right now is doing something just in that region. This is just fantastic. I have Almaz Negash on the phone. She's from the African Diaspora Network. Almaz, welcome to Impact Africa.
Oh, thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. And I know you're in California, so it's not even 7 o'clock yet there.
It's 6:30. That's okay.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning. First of all,
sure.
I want to congratulate you on the work that you're doing, not just with African Diaspora Network, but also, the rest of Africa as well. Thank you, and well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So there's so many diaspora groups, so many. And so what does African Diaspora Network do, and what makes you different?
Well, the idea of the Diaspora Network when we started 5 years ago was really to think of the continent as one and start to work together towards one common good, which is how do we all work together with what we have to try to impact, even if it's one person in one country, with whatever resources that is available for us. The reason I think maybe for me it was a selfish thing, I started ADN to try to mitigate this whole notion of that we're divided by country, by ethnicity, by borders, by all these brain, it really is a barrier that we've created in our mind, and I wanted to see if there was a way to overcome it. And I believe that is very possible because every time we have a discussion or an event, we have people from all walks of life, our American friends, and people from Ghana. You can find, actually, I should say this, from East, West, South, and North. We all are together in one room, and the energy and the discussion and the possibilities are incredible. But I think one of the things that we've done, and I want to see this continue in the future, is we have really focused at the beginning, how do we actually help the community locally here? Chike is the founder of the Africa Film Festival, and he does an amazing job when the film festival comes here in Silicon Valley. So we decided, let's help Chike to make sure that his work is also funded and supported and people come to it. So for the last 3 years, I've been working with him, and it has been just an amazing opportunity for all of us. The other thing we do is we bring women from, we partner. It's all in partnership because we want to leverage resources. We partner with IIE. We partner for the last 2 years to bring Africa Tech Women Silicon Valley. These are very well-educated and entrepreneurs in their own right. They come here and they spend about a month in Silicon Valley. And what we do is we take 3-4 hours of that day once a year in October to have them come and to discuss about their vision, their mission, and their aspiration for themselves, and try to see if we can fit or match them with some potential sponsors or even friends that they can coordinate with and work with when they go back home. These are the kind of small things that we've done, but our big picture is maybe go ask me and I'll try to tell you what else we're doing.
I'm already hearing a lot from what you're doing, and this is fantastic. I think this is what Africa needs. I'm sure you heard my previous guest, Danielle, and she was talking about what the U.S. Africa Chamber of Commerce is doing. I'm hoping that, her organization can partner with yours, because this is really where our strengths are, where we can collaborate. I like the fact that you are operating from a one continent perspective. It's so difficult, these days. You want to talk about Africa, people say, oh, no, don't talk about the Tunisians or the Egyptians, because that is Middle East and North Africa. Oh. And then we have this segregation between the Francophone-speaking Africans and the Anglophone Africans. And it's like, oh, they need something different. But no, when it all comes down to it, we're 1 billion people who share many things in common than differences that we have. And one thing is very consistent. We need to invest in technology, in small businesses, and also to try and get to leverage that number that we have to really improve the continent. If 1 billion people can work together, we'll be a force to really reckon with. Look at what China is doing. Look at what India is doing. Just by sheer number that they are able to bring diverse people together to do something great. But I want to take you up on that African women in tech. So this is, how often does this happen? And if there is a woman in tech that is listening to this, how can she get involved?
They actually come here, and women in technology, we may underestimate it, but in Africa, there are so many young women actually getting into technology, in STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's not everyone. We should be able to be careful about that, because I think what we want to do is make sure that others have opportunities to get into this in this sector. But these women, they come once a year. They actually are selected from, and the sad part, or maybe even the good part, is that they select 75 women out of 7,000 or 8,000 applicants. And our question was, what happened to those who are left behind? Who is going to give them an opportunity? we've had discussion with some people who what could be possible. We still are trying to explore that. It's never easy, but I have to tell you, it's always possible. Is how do we get the others to come? And this is not really a responsibility of ADN to do alone. But what we're trying to do is create awareness and ask people to act on if they have the capacity or the capability to do that. So that's in the step. But I also want to go back into what you just said in terms of the business opportunity and the sheer number of Africans. There was a fantastic conference at Stanford. The Stanford Africa Business Forum was yesterday. It was just one of these beautiful things you see. And in fact, the night before, we also had a presentation of the women entrepreneurs from Africa. And in that group, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there were two. Two of the four business owners were women. And it's just mind-boggling the way in which they were able to create their businesses. So we have women and men starting business in Africa. They are doing the best they can. They still need funding and they need mentoring and other kind of support. But I really think that the continent is ready for them. And what we need to do is figure out how can the Africans in the diaspora be part of it. One big example is, Nigeria. Nigeria, in so many ways, is doing a great job to try to bring back the diaspora to invest. But we also have the Africa Export-Import Bank. And if we have all these things, you put all these things together and you say, well, why doesn't then the Africa Import-Export Bank help us to get access to resources, or even give the Africans in the diaspora an incentive to invest? Because I think we have not only obligation, I think we have a responsibility to invest back in the continent. And what we're trying to do is, I don't have to really invest in Eritrea just by the fact that I am from Eritrea. I can invest anywhere I wish. Is my money worth investing in Africa? So the intercontinent investment in itself is huge, huge opportunity. We can invest from north to south, east to west within the continent, and you would be amazed what we could do. And I believe, my background is international business and trade. I really believe that if you do trade the right way, it actually creates tremendous peace and prosperity. And maybe it might be a great opportunity for us to think that way. So I think we're going to be, in 2050, more than 2 billion. So I'm telling you, we have a lot of responsibility to ensure that our people are equipped with the tools they need to make that continent we are the next frontier, but a place for investment, knowledge, and action rather than aid. I really, really want us to get out of this mentality that somebody is going to come and help us. We can't do that. We must help ourselves.
And I have to agree with you. You talked briefly about the population explosion that is happening in Africa right now. And, to put that in perspective, Africa has the most youthful population in the world. We're talking about people who are under 25. And if there isn't a way to engage them business-wise, the world is not going to be safe. We're talking about, almost 800 million people who are under the age of 30. And this is a significant population. And the World Bank did a study recently, and they were talking about people who join militia groups and take part in all these violent activities. And over 40% of them said they were joining because they had no work. And, even for Africans like me who are here, we're not removed from the problem, not just because we have family back home, but also because the world, if there's injustice somewhere, there's injustice everywhere. So, the best way to do this is to actually engage in terms of business entities. But this is all well and good. And I think after listening to Danielle, and people are listening to you, Almaz, right now, people are saying, you know what, I'm ready. 2015, I'm ready to start a business in Somalia, in Eritrea, in Tunisia. But how does Africa Diaspora Network help them to make that step?
So one of the things we've done and we're doing, and I am so happy to say that actually one small funding has come, is that in 2016, we are going to host the first African Diaspora Investment Summit here in Silicon Valley. What we're trying to do is, because remember, in Silicon Valley, we're also in a bubble, and we're very few in terms of Africans, so there isn't that much action So what we're trying to do is create that action, bring that from the East Coast to the West Coast. So we're going to have in January of 2016, that's really our plan, to have an investment summit here, so that an African Diaspora Investment Summit. So we're going to lay out some opportunities for people to invest, really bring the thought leaders, the business leaders, and the community leaders all together, and to try to really engage our community in the diaspora. And I hope that we will have you will ask us to come back again to the radio so we can announce it, and we can count on your support to try to get the word out, because I think even if it's in the West Coast, our goal is to really bring everyone who is interested in investing in the continent to come and listen to what's possible. So we're going to do that. But the other thing we do, and we're very lucky with this, I think we have done this strategically. We partner with universities. If you look at our ADN website, and I want to clarify, it is absolutely 100% volunteer run. No one in the team gets paid. We haven't raised money for ourselves, but we did raise money for causes. So this has to change, though, because we are scaling up and people are in need of our services.
Yes.
So we're going to start, and in fact, on May 5, anyone who's hearing, on May 5, we're participating in SV Gifts, Silicon Valley Gifts, through the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. They've asked us to participate. We're going to raise online funding, and that money comes back to support the programs that we're trying to do. If you look at our SV Gifts, and I'll send out email to you, there are specific things that we're trying to do using our own volunteer community. So it's volunteer-led, but what we're trying to do is make sure that people understand there is an incredible opportunity for investment in the continent, whether you happen to be a social entrepreneur or a pure business person. For SMEs and for everyone, there is tremendous opportunities, and we want to align them with what's possible, whether it happens to be in Ghana, in Kenya, or in South Africa, wherever that might be within the continent. There's tremendous opportunity, and that we want to lay it out. One thing we don't do, and we're not because we can't, but what we don't do is we do not tell people invest in this place, invest, because that's not really how we're set up. But what we're trying to do is give them all the opportunities so they can look at it themselves and invest. And we work with the universities in some ways because it helps us to get the intellectual content to try to bring it in, but also to reach out to the people we talk to, youth. We wanted to make sure our youth in the continent are supported in any possible way, because they're the future and we must invest in them, because they're right now the unemployment rate in Africa for any country, within any country in the continent, is so high that one has to sit down and wonder, what are we doing with our youth? Are we going to send them to war, unnecessary war, or are we going to educate them so they can become the next leaders?
And
the
you know, I definitely agree with you. And you know, the issue of youth and the issue of women, I like know the fact that you are focusing on those two issues, because these are great. And there is no way you can talk to the young people from today till tomorrow. If there is no work for them to do, there is no way out. And like you said, are we going to send our youth to war, or we're going to help them build a continent we can be proud of? I think, you know, that is really the question to ask yourselves, you know, Africans in diaspora. If you want to get engaged and you're still sitting on the fence, the question to ask yourself is, are you going to send our youth to war against the continent, or are you going to help them, you know, build a better continent? I think that's just fantastic. I think.
No, we need to do that. We have so much responsibility, because I think what happened to us is and I'm not blaming any of us. I think we all are very busy. I have a job, you know, that I run one of the fastest growing social innovation network called Step Up Silicon Valley. I love the work I do. We impact community here through disruptive innovation, through advocacy, through awareness, creating awareness on the poverty that exists in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is not immune from poverty. We have 18% of the population is poor. We're trying to create systemic change, and that takes time too, because complex issues don't get solved by you and me. I think it gets solved by many people from diverse background and business and faith-based organizations, everyone coming together for one common good. And what I'm trying to do is, why can't we do the same thing in the continent? So I have this crazy idea that I believe it's possible, and I really believe it is possible. We can,
and it
we
is
can
possible.
do it. And
I agree.
I know
possible.
it's possible. People say, "Allah, you're crazy." I'm not crazy. I really know what I'm doing. In fact, the other thing I wanna ask if it's possible to get this out to the community is there is this notion that I can't. Africa is too complex, and we can't do this and we can't do that. I think we need to get away from that and start really looking at it from possibilities rather than challenges. Because challenges are always there, but it is highly possible for us to do what is possible within the country. What is it that they have in the country? If you're interested in Nigeria, what are the possibilities for me to do something in Nigeria? Nobody is asking us to totally solve all problems, but at least if we all do something, it adds up and really, really, really moves the needle to the other side.
And I agree.
So
I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you. And I think that's, definitely a good point that you're raising. I want to thank you so much, Almaz, for, I hear the passion in your voice, and I know I've spoken with you before now. I know that you're really working hard. I'm thinking that, there's no way African can lose when we have people like you. And I want people to know that they can connect with you at africandiasporanetwork.org. africandiasporanetwork.org. Before I let you go, you're going to be the contestant on the Africa 101 quiz today. So,
okay.
So, you have exactly 3 minutes to answer 10 questions correctly. So let's go.
Oh, my goodness.
So the African icon of this week is Haile Selassie. So let's go.
Okay, let's hear from Ethiopia.
Yes. What was Haile Selassie's birth name? A. Litafari Makonnen. B. Haile Selassie.
Oh, the first one.
The first one. Okay, that is correct. His first name was indeed, his initial name was indeed Lige Tafari Makonnen. I hope I'm pronouncing that well. Selassie first became a governor of Selale at the age of 40. True or false?
Who was that? I didn't get the first one.
Selassie, Haile Selassie. He first became a governor of Selale at the age of 40. Is that true or false?
Oh, true?
That is false. He became...
I have no idea. I'm not from Ethiopia, but I should know the story.
He became governor between the age of 13 and 14, actually. So let's go. You have 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. What did Selassie do to guard against economic imperialism? A, all enterprises had to be owned by the government. B, there had to be at least a partial local ownership of enterprises.
I think the B.
B is correct. B is correct. Number 4. How many Armenian orphans did Selassie adopt during his travels? A, 35. B, 40.
Travel overseas. 40. He's been traveling all his life.
So how many would you say he adopted?
I said 40.
40 is correct. 40 is correct. Let's go. When did Selassie make the cover of Time magazine? A, January 15, 1920. B, November 3rd, 1930.
Oh, boy. I'll go with 1930.
And that is correct. You're not doing badly at all. Number 6. What fellow monarch did Selassie have a power tussle with in 1928? A, Emperor Tafari. B, Empress Zildutu.
I think Tafari, the first one.
No, that is not correct. It's Empress
Zildutu. I'm wrong already. Okay.
Well, you have 4 more questions to see if you can make it to 80%. So, Selassie became the emperor of Ethiopia in A, 1902, B, 1930.
1930.
And that is correct. 3 more questions to go. You're doing good. In 1931, Selassie introduced Ethiopia's A, first written constitution, B, first French language constitution.
Oh, I think it's A.
And that is correct. He introduced Ethiopia's first written constitution in 1931. Number 9, Haile Selassie died in A, 1975, B, 1980.
1975.
That is correct. That is
1980. He died 1975?
Yes, you got that. 1975.
Oh, okay. I got it. I remember.
And the last question,
1980 is
the last question is: Selassie led his nation to defeat which colonial power? A, France, B, Italy.
Oh, Italy, that's easy.
Italy, and that is correct. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And thank you very much for the work that you do with the African Diaspora Network. And I'm hoping people can connect with you at africandiasporanetwork.org. Thank you very much, and good morning, Almas.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great Sunday.
Thank you, you too. And thank you, everybody who listened, watched, and tuned in today. Congratulations to Nigeria and Nigerians for the successful completion of the presidential and the governorship election. Thank you very much, Almas Negash from the African Diaspora Network. Thank you, Danielle Ciribassi from the U.S. Africa Chamber of Commerce. I'm hoping that you connect with my guests today, and you in the diaspora have a very big power to impact Africa. Thank you, and have a very, very pleasant week ahead. Good morning.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Africa. Please join us again next Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. GMT at listenvisionlive.com. Have a good week and keep impacting Africa.